Well, good morning everyone. This is George Beiruthi giving you the market report for the overnight for Monday morning, the 25th of August. First of all, who we are. We're a stockbroking firm located on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, and I'll give you a bit more information about the company later in this presentation. But let me start with the disclaimer. Everything I say is for general advice and general information only, and before you take any action, please contact your professional advisor or talk to us directly, and a copy of this disclaimer is available to you. If you wish to have it, all you have to do is call the office. Now, what I'm going to go through is what we present in our market report in the printed version, which is placed on the website. Every morning we continue with some editorials, and today we continue with Telstra, and the title of our editorial: Telstra has competitors and clients that are not happy, and this is part 2. We started with part 1 last week, and before that we had several part series on options and how to trade options, and before that we had quite an extensive series on futures contract. So if you wish to receive or to read any of this material, please go to our website and subscribe on a 15-day free trial. Alright, we start with the data as at the end of the week. The Dow Jones finished on Saturday morning at 17,001. That's 1 point above the 17,000 psychological level. The S&P 500 hasn't really gone to the 2,000 level that we forecast about 2 months ago. Every time it gets close to it, it seems to be reversing. We still believe that it will reach 2,000 in the very near future. The Nasdaq went up while the S&P 500 and the Dow went down. In Europe, the Stockmarket 50 index, which comprises several European major markets, was down by 0.8%. The FTSE was steady, and the DAX, which is the German Frankfurt market, was actually down 0.7%. The Nikkei was down 0.3%. In China, usually it goes the other way versus Europe, and it was actually up by 0.5%. Gold was steady around 1,281. That's up 0.3% from the previous close. It is important to mention that gold over the full week, we've got some data here that shows that gold over the last 2 weeks was actually down by 2%, and that is nearly $24. Silver, on the other hand, was down by 0.8%. Crude oil finished on Saturday at $93. $93, and that is actually down 50 cents. However, over the full week it was down 4%. Copper, the world's economic barometer, was at 322 cents per pound. That's up 0.9%. It's one of the highest levels for several weeks. Iron ore, which is important for our miners as BHP, Rio, Atlas Iron and Fortescue, was down nearly 2% at $90.10 US per ton. On the currencies, the Aussie dollar was trading at 93.2 US cents, and will give you 70.4 euro cents. And of course, these are intrabank rates. The best performers amongst the leaders over the full week: AMP was up 7.5%, followed by QBE and Santos. Both were up by 5%. The worst performers: BHP was down 3.2%, followed by Suncorp, which was down 2.6%. Now, we also tell you what happens as far as announcements, and you can see here that as far as announcements are concerned, nothing really major in Australia. However, we've got some announcement in the United States tonight. At 11:45 p.m. our time, we have the Flash Services PMI, and we also have the new home sales. Okay, so all that can affect the market, and of course it's very important to be diligent about what announcements are coming up the next 24 hours. We also show you in part of our market report, our analyst here at FS Securities present you with the picks and the trades. This is a summary synopsis of what we have on the website, and there are a lot more information on the website should you wish to read any information related to any of those companies. We also like to show you the trend in volume and the advances versus declines, so at least you have an idea about how the market is trending. You can see for the last 8 days the advances were greater than the declines. However, the volume was starting to decline towards the end of the last week, from 2.3 billion down to 1.9 billion. We give you some data regarding all the companies have done well. Here, for instance, on Friday, we've got a company called Brookfield Prime Property Fund, was up by 5.8%. Santos was up by 3.9%. Breville up 3.8%. Magellan Financial Group, it's a company that was formed by buying another company, was still moving up at 3.6%. So again, it gives you some ideas about which companies are moving forward and which companies are not. We also give you a synopsis about 10 performing companies, well-performing companies, versus 10 not so well performing. On the downside, we've seen that Atlas Iron was down 8% on Friday. Mount Gibson Iron, another iron ore producer, was down 4.7%. Arium, another iron ore producer, was down by 4%. And the reason why iron ore prices have actually come down and continue to come down. Now there is a forecast that iron ore will probably be down below $90 US per ton in the next few weeks. On the positive side, as I mentioned, Santos was up by 3.9%, but Mermaid Marine Australia was up by nearly 7%. This is a company that is actually a utility company that actually performs on the oil shore, all the drilling around all the sea waters, looking for oil. We like to show you what sector has performed well on Friday. Here you can see, going down the list, that is the third column, we see that the best performing company sector was the industrial, followed by the energy and gold. It's interesting that gold was down 2% over the last week. Okay, the financial was up by 0.2%. Now the worst performing sector was actually the metal, down 0.5%. followed by telecommunication, 0.4%. Again, important information that we believe you can rely on in terms of trying to forecast where the market is. Every weekend we show you what happened over the last 2 weeks. For instance, here, if you look at the Dow Jones, was up by 2.7% over the last 2 weeks. Most of that was up last week, 2% last week, and 0.7 the week before, makes it 2.7 over 2 weeks. The Nasdaq even done better, 4% over 2 weeks. The US dollar was strong. You can see that it has actually gone up by 1% over the last 2 weeks. 1%, that's actually quite a major increase for currencies. The Australian dollar has done well, was up nearly 0.5%. In terms of gold I mentioned that was down by 2.2% over the last 2 weeks, 1.8% over last week. And the rest is actually for the soft commodities. Now, in terms of the Australian market, you can see most sectors were up. Over the last 2 weeks, the worst performing sector over 2 weeks was the information technology. And the best performing sector was the healthcare. We know that CSL moved up quite a bit the last 2 weeks, followed by telecommunication and properties. In terms of negative, the information technology followed by the financial. The financial were down 0.6%. Now looking at the companies, the top leading companies, last week we've got the best performing company would be Suncorp, 7%. Even though it dropped on Friday by 2.6%, was still up 7.3% over last week. It follows by Westfield, Westpac, Telstra, Leighton Holdings and BHP, up by 3.5%. That's interesting because BHP was down 3.2% on Friday. BHP, by the way, over the last 2 weeks was down 1.7%. Bramble was up 3.8%. Suncorp up 5%. So again, information that happens to be important to analyze what's happening in the market. Okay, now a little bit about myself. I've been trading for over 25 years, and you can see that I've got enough academic qualification behind me. The last 7 years, I've actually been concentrating on helping people to trade efficiently by running courses, educating clients, and of course now we are a fully licensed stockbroking firm where we actually trade options, stocks, commodities, foreign exchange. We also provide some very attractive interest rate over 1 year where we pay 7% interest paid monthly or 9% interest paid monthly over 3 years. How to reach us? Here we've got our landline 61 for Australia, 7 for Queensland, 56304141. I've given you my mobile phone number where you can contact me 7 days a week, my email address and the website. And once again, I highly recommend that you visit our website. If you're not a member already, we suggest that you subscribe on a 15 free day trial and see all the recommendations, the daily recommendation, the daily scans, the education, the tutorial, the editorials, and we show you also our results. So why don't you surf the website and see what it's like, and if you like what you see, all you have to do is call us. Okay, we'll be back at 1:15 to tell you what happened during the day, and have a nice, happy trading day.